It's no secret that the retail prices of watches have been going up steadily over the last few years, which makes the concept of value for money so much more important to collectors today. And while yes, the watch brands are the ones pushing the prices up, it also puts a lot more pressure on them to offer more value for money to justify why they're raising the prices. So today we're going to be taking a look at two brands whose backgrounds could not be more different, but both of which are making significant efforts to justify the prices they're commanding by adding more value into their watches through skeletonization, advanced movements and materials, and bold modern designs to really stand out. So let's start with the known quantity, which is the Tag Heuer Monaco. Now, if you've seen our video already on racing chronographs, you'll know that Tag Heuer has a very special relationship with racing and the world of Formula One specifically. And in the last 3 years, every year, Tag Heuer has released a special Monaco, usually at the time of the Monaco Grand Prix, to feature on Max Verstappen's wrist for the remainder of the season. And this is the 2023 Tag Heuer Monaco Open Worked. On the inside, you have the Tag Heuer O2 movement, but where you notice the difference is of course on the front. You have this open worked dial, which really shows you much more of the inner workings of the movement. It's important to point out this isn't a fully skeletonized movement because you can't actually see through it all the way, but it offers a really modern take on the classical Monaco design. And this is actually the first serial production open worked dial on a Monaco since the V4 series of the early 2000s. The case itself is made of grade 2 titanium, making it extra light, very much in keeping with its Formula One theme. And one of the major highlights it has is that on the dial side, some of the open work bridges have luminova applied to them to give it a really unique perspective when it comes to looking at this watch at night. Beyond that though, it is a standard Monaco. The O2 movement, carrying its 80 hours of power reserve, has been one of Tag Heuer's in-house chronograph movements for the last few years and has really helped Tag Heuer to elevate the perception of its brand, because since they started using the O2, they've really been able to push higher and further away from that perception of Tag Heuer being your entry-level luxury brand to now producing a watch that costs over 10,000 euros. Tag Heuer does have the pedigree and the history behind it. They're an established quantity which has real credibility within the racing world as well as within the watch world. Meanwhile, on the totally other end of the spectrum, we have microbrand CODE41. Established in 2016 by Claudio D'Amore, he was actually a designer for big brands including Montblanc and Tag Heuer itself. So you can see some of the DNA already in the watch, but it's a completely unique design to really anything else that we've seen. Now, we've seen microbrands come and go before offering great value, but it's very rare that you see value in a microbrand that's actually charging upwards of 6,000 euros. But CODE41 cuts no corners with this watch. From every angle, this watch is riddled with details that just add to the experience of beholding it. But this watch isn't just about the aesthetic details. They make a huge effort to add value through the movement. Now, on the face of it, especially as you go through their website where they transparently explain this is indeed based on a Valjoux 7750, however, what they've done to upgrade it is something that very few watch manufacturers in general have achieved, and that is by giving it a peripheral rotor. And they've combined that peripheral rotor with the open work design to give it a visual presence that's unlike almost any other watch, because you can actually see the rotor on the dial side instead of the back. So anytime you move around the watch, you can actually see the rotor moving around, and this is something that just adds a much more dynamic experience when you're looking at the watch, even more than your just standard open work watch. The case itself is made of grade 5 titanium, making it also super light, much like the Tag Heuer. On the back, you can see the nice blued base plate, adds a little bit of pop, matching the dial configuration as well, and it's fitted to a nice racy leather strap. Now, this is important because both of these watches are very much appealing to the racing side as well as the high-tech side. And this is one of those areas where you need to decide, does the racing pedigree outweigh the technical details that you see on the newer microbrand? This is one of the questions we always have to ask ourselves. How much does brand really matter when you're talking about value? How much value does that add? It's something that every collector has to put a price on to some degree, but you definitely have to applaud CODE41 for cramming as many on-paper benefits and values towards this watch that they could. That being said, also from a brand perspective, something very unique to CODE41 is their commitment to transparency. And we're not just talking about being able to see through the dial, we're talking about transparency in the manufacturing process. They're very open, for example, about which parts of this watch are made in China, namely the case, the strap, the clasp. But crucially, they're still putting thousands of euros of the price of each watch towards making sure the movement is still made in Switzerland. And it's made in collaboration with Concepto, which itself has worked with several other high-end brands. So this isn't just your basic off-the-shelf 7750. It's a reimagining of an already very reliable, tried and tested movement architecture. On the wrist, both of these feel extremely light, and they are relatively large watches, but they somehow wear their size well. The Tag Heuer's 39mm across size definitely has a lot of presence, but that's the idea. Meanwhile, the CODE41, while being larger than the Tag Heuer at 42mm, with its curved lugs, it somehow shrinks a little bit on the wrist, both of them ending up with a very similar wrist presence when you're talking about their overall size, and both of them featuring relatively similar stacked up heights, being 14.7mm for the Tag Heuer and 14.5mm for the CODE41. So these are just two examples of brands that are going the extra mile to justify the prices that they request. The difference here, however, is of course you have an established brand that, if you look at from maybe sort of the early 2000s, often had a bit of a bad rap when it came to being perceived as sort of this entry-level luxury brand that, was never held in the same esteem as something like an Omega or a Rolex. They're going to great lengths to rehabilitate that and also to remind people why they are the brand that they are, why they've been around for so long. On the other hand, you have CODE41, a new brand that's trying to make its mark in the ever-changing, ever-competitive landscape that is luxury watches. As for the question of which one is better value, well, that's totally subjective. So let me know in the comments below, which of these two do you prefer and why? I'd love to know your opinions. And of course, if you like either of these, make sure to check the links in the description below. In any case though, if you like this video, make sure you like it and share it. If you want to see more videos about watches, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell as well so you know when the next video comes up. But thanks for joining us on this quick exploration of two really interesting watches, both of which are pushing the envelope of what additional value they can bring to their watches and to their brands.